everybody, thank you for joining me today. So as promised, on today's video we're going to be doing the card carrier, which I got from Edith at Scrapbooking with Me Boutique, and I will make sure to have a link to hers in the links down below. So you want to cut two pieces that are 6 3/4 by 12, and our first score lines are going to be at 1 inch, 5 3/4, 6 3/4, and 11 1/2. So that's 1 inch, 5 3/4, 6 3/4, and 11 1/2. That's your first one. The second one, you're going to score it backwards. So we're going to start at 1/2 inch, and then we're going to score at 5 1/4, 6 1/4, and 11 inch. And then you're going to turn your piece of paper just one time and then score at 1 inch. Alright, and then we're going to grab the other one, the first one we did, and we're going to do the same thing. Just turn it once and then score at 1 inch. Alright, and now we're going to put the scoreboard to the side. And at this point, you're going to grab your my Tim Holtz ruler, my pencil and scissors, and then of course my bone folders, whichever bone folder you have. And we're going to go ahead and make our individual pockets. Okay, for this one, this next step, I'm going to use more like my shears, I guess, because they're thinner. They're not as thick as the other ones. But along that 1 inch line, the last one we did, we're going to cut into the flaps. Okay, now you can cut straight like that, but we want to create just a little bit of some space, so like a little bit of a V. Okay, so instead of having to do the 3 cuts, if you angle it right as you're doing your initial cut, then the piece comes out and you only have to do the 2 instead of having to do 3 different steps. So I'm trying to hold it so that way you can see the triangle that we're cutting out. So once again, I'm going to show you, if you do just a straight cut, that's fine, but you want to cut a little bit of an angle. So you see how you create that V, and we're just going to do the V right from the beginning. So you don't have to do the cut down the line, but I just wanted to show you the different options and what you were trying to create. Okay, so once we have all those cut out, now we're going to do our measuring from the top. You're going to measure down 4 inches on each side. Okay, so I'm just lining it up, making sure I have it even. And once I have it in the right spot, I'm just going to mark my 4 inch mark. And the same thing on the other side. And my mark got a little crazy there, so that's why I just erased it and made my little mark again. And then we're going to do the same thing with our second piece. Going to measure down the 4 inches. Make our mark, and then the same thing on the other side. I like to do them both kind of at the same time. You know, I'm very big with doing whatever the step is, doing it for both at the same time. So now what we're going to do is at the 4 inch mark on, you don't have to do this, what I'm showing you here. I'm just showing you the different things that we're going to do. So on the 1 inch side, you're just going to draw a line straight across, and we're going to cut down to that 4 inch line and then cut straight across the side. So you see here, I'm just going my straight line, and then I'm going down the long fold, and once I meet, I make my little L. Okay, if you use the smaller scissors, you got to do a little bit more of a cut, and you can wind up having like wonky lines. So that's why I use the longer shears, because I can do a clean cut. Alright, so on the 1/2 inch side, we're going to draw our straight line again. But this time we're going to line up the 1 point to the fold line, the very first fold line at the very top. And what it's going to do is kind of create an angle. You see it there? I'm going to fold so you can see it. That first fold line right there, you're going to do an angle. So it's going to create this, basically the opening of the pocket. So I cut down and then straight across. Alright, and then once we have that, that's really the shape of your pocket right there. And then you can go ahead and reinforce your folds, but I'm gonna bring my ruler back over and do the same thing on this one. So once again, we're gonna draw the straight line, and then for the other side, I'm gonna do the angle and of course the straight line. And really, for the most part, everything that I'm doing I got from Miss Edith's video, and I know on her link on YouTube she does mention who she got it from, but I don't know who that was, so I'm just gonna send you guys back to Miss Edith and then you can find her link, which I want to say was from Pinterest. So just take a look there if you guys have any questions. And now that we have these, what we're going to do is, like I said, reinforce the fold lines. I'm grabbing my art glitter glue and my ATG tape because we're going to get ready to put these pockets together. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're just going to reinforce all of the fold lines, creating basically the pocket without gluing or taping or anything. We just want to make sure that all of our folds are good, and I did it, obviously for both. And then what I do when I put these together is I make sure I know which one on, I think it's the 1-inch side, is the one that I use for my bottom piece. Okay, and this will make sense in 1 second. Alright, so this is basically what our box is going to look like. So on the 1-inch side, I'm going to tape on the inside of the flap. This is going to be the flap that's on the outside of the box, so I don't want tape on that piece. Okay, everything else that's going inside the box, I'm going to put on the outside of the flap. Okay. So right now I'm getting ready to fold these over, and I'm just going to put tape along all these edges. Same thing with the little teeny flaps. And the 1/2-inch side one, I'm actually going to flip it over. I don't do it right here, but eventually I realize that I am going to have to flip it over and put some tape on it, because I need it to connect to our 1-inch flap. So I'm going to start to put it all together, and then I realize, oh wait, I need more tape. So right on here on the inside, I'm just going to do half of the tab, because that smaller tab is only a 1/2 inch. So I put the ATG tape on the outside of that flap, and then I'm going to start folding everything towards the inside, excuse me. And then I just leave the flap, the thinner one, I hold it up, and then I put the larger one, sorry about that, I didn't realize I was going to be off camera, but it slides underneath, so that way it lines up and it's on the outside. And then that tape, I just use my bone folder and I rub along the bottom side and on the inside to make sure it's connected. And if there's any tape on the outside, I just rub it with my finger, and it, kind of like boogers up, and then it goes away. So I'm going to do it one more time, showing you on this one, where I put the tape, and then to mark it so that you can really see it, I'm going to use the art glitter glue, so that way you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so real quick, just putting all the glue on the pieces, just like how we did the last time, on the outside flap for everything that's going on the inside, and then that one flap that's on the outside, because, excuse me, not the outside, the inside flap because everything's going to attach to it. Alright, and I'll show you here with the glue. Alright, so inside, and then everything else outside. Outside. Outside, all the way down there. Inside, out. And I'm trying to show you the difference. So glue, glue, no glue, and some glue. Okay? So now we're going to start folding everything in. You can see there, see how that piece is just sliding inside first, and then the smaller one will fit. And you just have to kind of, you wiggle it around until it gets into the right spot. But once it does, all you do is lay that last flap down, and really it's done. And it almost wants to fold that way automatically on its own. And, you know, it's just about making sure that you're not putting any type of adhesive or tape on the inside, because, you know, that's where you're going to be putting your cards and stuff, and you don't want them sticking to the bottom. And then right there, I was just cleaning up my bottom edge, so that way, you know, I just clean that up. And I did it this way on purpose because I want to use magnets instead of a belly band. So just keep looking. We'll get to that. So this is our pattern piece that's going to cover our whole box, and it's going to be 5 7/8 by 12 inches, and then you're going to score at 4 7/8 and 7 1/8. Okay, so once again, the piece itself is 5 7/8 inch by 12, and then you're going to score at 4 7/8 and 7 1/8, and that's going to give you your spine, and then your 2 pockets are going to fit on either side. Okay, so for these, I like to attach them using the score tape because I just want a little bit, you know, extra strength on this. So I will put the score tape around the outside edge, and then on the inside I put the glitter glue. So we're just going to tape both of these up real quick. And you could have made these using the pattern paper, which is totally fine as well. But if I did the pattern paper, I wouldn't be able to hide the magnet that I wanted to use. So that's why I used the plain cardstock, so that way I could then cut a pattern piece of paper to put over top and cover the magnet, and you wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, so now I'm just taking the backing off the tape. And of course, there's always got to be one that's just a little bit of a bugger. So once I get that one off, I'm just going to take the art glitter glue. And I have a little magnet on the side for my pen. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. And let me tell you, it's really hard because the top of my pen is black and so is my mat. So you can imagine me trying to find that pin to put it back into my container. Okay, so once I line up the edge and lay it down, I just take the bone folder and kind of press it on the inside to make sure we got good adhesion. And then we're just going to do the same thing with the other one. Alright. And then we're going to, once again, take the art glitter glue. And then lay this one down. And as I was laying this one down, I kind of got a little crooked. And you'll see, like, at a certain point, I'm trying to lift it up. But I stopped because even though it wasn't even down for that long of a second, that score tape, it's so strong. It was like starting to want to pull the paper apart. And I was just like, well, wherever it lays, that's where we're going to keep it, because I wasn't about to have to start all over. So I'm just rubbing through with my bone folder again on the opposite side, and really there's your carrier. Okay, you can do a belly band if you wanted to attach some ribbon to it, and you know, close it with the ribbon. There's all kinds of ways you can do different closures. What I'm doing is on the spot of the pockets, I'm putting 2 strips of paper, so that way it kind of gives it a finished look to me. So I was just measuring it, making sure, I want to say I gave it like 1/8 of an inch around each side, except for the height, the length of it. I did keep that to match the paper that, you know, we already have on there. But once I have it cut, you'll see here, I'm just going to, you know, cut off the extra, and then we're going to just use the ATG to get this attached. And then I'm going to lay it on its side here. I should lift it up. There we go. And just put a little glue down the middle. And the art glitter glue with the tape just gives it a little bit of time where we have some wiggle room to move the paper around to get it into its right spot without it, you know, pulling the paper apart and having to start all over. So we're going to do the same thing with the other strip. And then we're going to attach it the same way using the glitter glue. And I just wanted to make sure I had the paper going in the same direction. On the other side it was easy because there was a butterfly, so I just had to make sure it was flying correctly. So we're going to get this one attached. And then we're going to figure out the inside. So for the inside pieces, I decided to grab the 6.5 by 6.5 pad, because I figured for the inside I could use that instead of having to cut into more of the 12 by 12 sheets that I have. And I'm actually going to go through this probably a couple of times. I'm going to use this pattern for the inside of the pocket. And then I was torn. I was going to do the polka dots, and I kept going back to them. I just wasn't sure. I knew I wanted something that was going to stand out. So I think I wound up going back to the same pattern that was on the back side of our main piece, which is up here towards the front. Hold on. Let me get back to it. Right there. The yellows. Yep. Right there. You can see me going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Alright, so, and what's really cool is actually on the 6x6, 6.5 by 6.5 pad, that pattern had embossed look. So it had a little bit more texture and shine to it. It was really nice. And right there I was just measuring the pocket. And I want to say it was like 4 7/8 across. So I just cut it at 4 3/4. So I would have that 1/8 of an inch line. And then what I'm doing there is once I get it cut to the right width, I'm going to lay it down on the pocket. And I was usually, what I try and do is like figure out where kind of the 1/8 of an inch is, and I'll make a mark on it and try and figure it out myself and hope that my angle and all that is correct. Well, I actually had a thought like, well, why don't I grab that piece that I cut off when I created the pocket? So that made it a lot easier. So I already had my little tick marks. I was like, okay, so then all I would have to do is figure out 1/8 of an inch down, line up my diagonal, and draw the line and cut it. And it should line up perfectly. And really and truly, it really did. Once I cut off the extra here with my Tim Holtz scissors, you'll see it does give it a little bit more of a border around where this diagonal is, but I was happy with it. And it's enough paper that it will, you know, cover up my magnet, and that's really ultimately all that mattered. And then I flipped it over, laid it on top of my second piece, and cut the same angle, and then that gave me the other side. And there you go. So you have your two inside pieces covered. So now I'm going to grab my magnets. Excuse me. And I use the bigger size. Let me see if it has it on here. Yeah, these are the large magnets. It doesn't have on here what their size is. But we get them, they're in the boutique, so I'll make sure to put a link down below. They have adhesive on the back side, and I do put a little bit of the art glitter glue on the back, so I just know that it stays, you know, extra strong. And then I'll take the backing off of the other side and attach it to the magnet. And then all I do is close my box, and I press on the inside so that way that magnet will attach. And what it does is it puts it in perfect placement because, you know, it was attached to the other magnet at the very, you know, at the very beginning. And then I did let it sit for a little while though, because I wound up putting a little bit of extra glue on there. And normally I try not to put too much because it does make it stay wet longer. But once it dries, I was able to pull it apart and everything and just keep going. So now all I have to do is tape up my decorative pieces. And I put a little bit of glue on that as well. And then attach that right over the magnet piece. And then I just press it down, make sure everything is covered. And then we're going to do the same thing with our second side. And all I'm doing when you see me like kind of rubbing on the edge is any of the ATG tape that I get that goes off the edge as I'm, you know, putting my tape down. I just roll it back onto the inside so that way it's neat and it's not leaving any like straggles of glue. So I'm just trying to get this one attached, lining it up as evenly as possible and making sure that everything is covered. And like I said, you can kind of see on this side there's a little bit more of the border of the craft paper, but it really didn't bother me. And then right there, boom, your carrier case is closed. So I just press it down again, making sure everything is nice and neat. And then for the inside piece, it's the same measurement width-wise. Remember, it's 4 and 7/8. So I cut it down to 4 3/4. And then technically you don't have to cut the full length. You just need enough to go past, you know, that short piece on the inside. But I just measured the whole length and then cut off probably, I want to say, a 1/4 inch. So that way I could get a nice even border, as even as I could, around, you know, that. And I really don't overly stress on the inside, only because it is going to have the cards there. So it's not like it's going to stand out like a sore thumb or anything. So I just cut it so that way it looks nice and, you know, we can get this part attached. Now, you can, which is something that I didn't do on the two that I did, but if you're the type of person who likes to distress your edges, you can totally do that. Just, you know, obviously you would do that before attaching each piece, okay? So just be aware, if you want to use your Tim Holtz Distress inks to go around the edges, you can do that, okay? And then we're just going to finish putting in our final piece on the inside. And once again, just rub it down, and I use my bone folder just to make sure everything is laying the way it's supposed to. And I don't put anything on the inside or on the bottom. I'm okay with that staying brown. It doesn't have to have any type of pattern paper. So I grabbed our cards, our note cards from last week, the 20 cards that we put together, and we're just going to divide them up and put them inside of each of the pockets. And I want to show you, you could make your own envelopes to coordinate with the note cards that we did, or what I'm doing right now is I'm grabbing, like, I want to say it's 15 A2 size cards or envelopes, so they fit the A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I literally just grabbed, I think it was like 15 white and 5 of my cream colored ones, and split them up and put them in there, and boom, you have a box. And it's all done. So you can decorate it. This is the one that I did with the not Echo Park. I think it was the Cartabella, the travel. So I'm just going to finish adding my embellishments and stuff on this. And in the pictures at the end, you'll see all that I did with Dad. Okay, so as we go to the final pictures, thank you guys again for, watching and commenting on last week's video. And I hope you enjoyed this one as well. I will have links down below to the Scrapbooking with Me Boutique YouTube channel, and also to the, the magnets that I used in this, and the score tape, stuff like that from the shop. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below, and I will have links to previous Technique Tuesday videos at the end. And if you haven't subscribed, just click on my photo and you'll be able to subscribe, and you won't miss any of my upcoming videos. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day.